Monday, August 21st, and this is Geeknights. Tonight we discuss podcasting live on the road.
Let's do this.
You might notice I sound like my old self. That's because I finally have a brand new pop filter.
Ta-da!
It is made out of a nice black pantyhose, some duct tape, an embroidery loop, a bent coat hanger.
That's fantastic. It's exactly the same as the old one, only new.
Not only does it look better, it doesn't smell like tonsillolith. That is key.
That is key.
Good God, did that old pop filter smell like tonsillolith.
Well, you're always hacking up all kinds of nasty shit. Not surprised.
I submit that you're the only person I've ever seen who farted on a microphone and then immediately tried to talk on it.
Yeah, that was... I wasn't thinking ahead right there.
No, you weren't. But actually, today, both Scott and I got caught in the same traffic jam, despite the fact that he works about an hour to the east and I work about an hour to the south.
Well, we all come up to the same little east-west interstate, and then...
Actually, most days I don't. Most days I take the Bear Mountain Beacon Expressway.
Why didn't you?
Because I just didn't.
Good job.
I have 3 ways home, and I kind of randomly pick one every day.
Maybe you should listen to the traffic report before you randomly pick.
Yeah, you know what? I looked on the MSN, Microsoft, whatnot traffic report.
You know what? There is no internet traffic that works. The only traffic that works is the local radio for where you are, which sucks because you don't know the traffic of where you're going if you're going a long distance.
Yep. I mean, all the New York stations always say all the roads going into and out of New York City, which would be good for me, but I don't have time to sit. Like, by the time the news would come on and they'd tell me about it, I'm already on whatever road I've committed to.
Yeah, and it's like, I know that there's sometimes an alternate route, but usually the alternate route is just out of the way. So you're either spending time sitting or spending an equal amount of time driving around.
Well, here's the main problem. We were stuck 5 minutes from our house, and our options were the I-84, which was completely stopped, or the only other road that goes east-west, which had every other person in the world on it.
Yep.
Good God. I mean, have you ever sat at a light and you're trying to turn left with a green arrow even, and the green arrow comes on and traffic doesn't move at all because the cross street is full, and then the green arrow turns back to red, and then 5 minutes later it goes green again, and then it goes red again, and in all this time not a single car has moved.
The thing is, on that street, I think the lights are really just not optimal.
Well, the problem is the lights are perfectly optimal unless all the traffic from I-84 tries to squeeze down Route 52.
Yeah. They're really, like, I am in favor of there being traffic cameras, that watch traffic, and that there should be people watching them and manipulating lights and things when crazy shit happens.
Yeah.
The thing is, there is cause for abuse of those traffic cameras,
Well, I note that New York City, for the most part, has traffic cameras everywhere, and there have been pretty much no reports of them being abused.
Yeah. I mean, Connecticut...
Of course, New York City, whenever the traffic gets bad, police appear and direct the traffic.
That is another good thing, and no, I didn't see a single cop directing any traffic
You know
today.
why? Because it wasn't New York City. And I'm not going to say that New York City is the greatest place in the world, but you know what? Whenever there's a problem in New York City, someone deals with it. Either a cop or a guy on the street. Someone deals with whatever situation's going down.
Yeah, out here, no one did anything. You just let the traffic sort itself out. Who cares?
No, a few people did stuff. They cut me off trying to get one car ahead.
Yeah, funny.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay.
The best part was I cut down a side street, and I drove around. I got stuck because there was another accident somewhere else. And I was driving around trying to find a back road that would get me anywhere. And I ended up driving up a one-way street and coming around and coming back to the road we were on exactly 4 cars ahead of Scott, like 10 minutes later.
Yeah, I'm just driving around. I see a funny license plate. Then I see another funny license. Oh, it's Rim. All right.
Yeah, which started us arguing even more about car insurance. So if anyone has anything to say about car insurance, traffic, or indigent drivers, I suggest you hit the forums.
Indignant.
No, indigent, as in they don't have any money.
Oh.
Not indignant.
They're also indignant.
Some of them were. I have a story I'm not going to tell today about the most indignant woman I've ever met.
Yeah, they're real. One of my pet peeves lately is indignant people.
The people who just seem to have this entitlement to everything in the world, and they cut in front of you in a line or something. They're like,
it's more
I do what I want. I do what I want.
Well, it's not just that. It's also like you try to tell someone something.
You doing this just because I'm black?
Oh, it's like when I'm trying to inform someone or help them out or teach them something.
Like when you're trying to tell me how to play Mario Soccer.
Exactly. And then they get all upset, like, oh, you don't tell me what to do. You know, it's like...
You're not the boss of me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
God, I have so many stories about indignant people.
Okay, so news time.
News time?
Yep.
Well, it's Monday, Science Day and all that. And first off, we're not going to talk about this because I know more about quantum physics than I do about astrophysics.
And he knows almost nothing about quantum physics, so he knows zero.
As I was about to say, I know practically nothing about quantum physics. Ergo, I am not qualified in any way to talk about this other than that I understand the implications, at least from a broad perspective.
So you read the article.
No, I mean, I understand that...
So you didn't read the article.
I understand that the fact that this has been, for the most part, confirmed will have far-reaching consequences, and that is actually a big deal. Scientists have determined, and they're sure at this point, I mean, they've confirmed it as far as something like this can be confirmed, that dark matter exists.
All right, genius. What does that mean?
Well,
for the normal Joe on the street.
Well, for the normal Joe on the street, it means that there's matter you can't detect so easily that's out there.
Dun, dun, dun. Is it going to make a good basis for a sci-fi movie?
You know what? There are already a whole bunch of sci-fi movies with dark matter.
Awesome.
So, see, sci-fi,
so it doesn't matter if it's real or not.
Is ahead of the curve. I mean, the thing here is just that it won't affect anyone except scientists, but it really, from what I've gathered from my reading, kind of makes a bunch of the theories we've been tossing around a lot more solid.
Does it mean we're going to have spaceships that can take us far away very quickly?
Actually, it means, from what I can gather, that is actually more difficult than we expected now.
So we don't like this news, is what you're saying? This is bad news.
Well, it means that now we know that there's this matter out there that's hard to detect, if it's detectable at all in most cases, and we can't seem to manipulate it or do anything with it, and it's in the way and we don't know what it is. But we know it's there now.
So it's just bad news all around.
I mean, before we weren't sure if dark matter was there. Dark matter was basically a fudge factor kind of thrown into equations. Now we know that, all right, there is actually something there. Our math isn't wrong. There's just something there we don't know much about.
Can you say at all how we know?
Not at all.
So you could be lying.
I can't. Scientists did some sort of experiment and observed something.
Good job. You're helpful.
But I think that this is somewhat significant news, so I thought I would toss it out there.
All right. I have sort of a double news, one old and one new.
God.
The old news, which you may or may not know, because it was like a week old, is AOL released a bunch of search results on the internet so that everyone could look at them. Now, the way they did this is they took, well, not results, but searches. You know, like, so if you searched for food, it would show up in the thing they distributed, the word.
Who searches for food?
Someone who's hungry.
Who searches for the word food? What do you think you're going to... I'm going to search for food while you talk about your news. I'll be Michael Godot here.
All right. So AOL put all these search queries on the internet. So, you know, in case it's interesting to see what other people are searching for, mostly porn. But they put them out, and to make it anonymous, they replaced every username with a number.
Whoa, Yahoo looks really different from the last time I went. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. So if you happened to be user number 5 and your name was Joe, they would replace the word Joe with the number 5. So you knew that all the searches with the number 5 were from the same person, but you didn't know who. This didn't work so well because everyone was able to look and see, hey, all of these were by the same person. And then they looked at what the person searched for, and they were able to figure out who it was. So AOL got some flack for that. But the internet got mountains of comedy.
Yes, there was one case where it appears that a husband and wife were both cheating on each other.
There was one, the funniest one I saw, it was on Something Awful, which has a highlights reel of sorts, was one person from the same house was searching for, what do I do if my mother-in-law, like, grabbed my dick? And then there were searches for the same house, like, I saw my mother-in-law grab my husband's dick.
Whoa!
I saw my mom grab my husband's dick, not mother-in-law. That would be...
All right, if you search for food, the top Google-sponsored ad is a McDonald's snack wrap.
Oh, God.
But Yahoo and Google have the exact same top 3 links.
Oh, okay. So, anyway, What happened today is someone released a new Firefox extension called Track Me Not. What Track Me Not does is when you're not doing anything and Firefox is open, it just kind of does some searches on AOL, Yahoo, Google, and MSN. So if anyone ever decides to release some search results or look through the search queries at any of those places, then they'll say, hey, that's, we don't know who that is because there's so many crazy different searches going on all the time.
All right, now I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat here for a minute. And now let's assume that me, being Evil Rim, Dr. Chaos, wrote this program. Now I would set it up so that it would search occasionally for very specific things that would be tied to each person who has downloaded my program in some way, so that I could still track everything in the event that something like this happened.
Yep, you could do that. However, there are two things in your way. Number one, with this extension, you can actually customize how and what the thing searches. So that's number one. Number two, anyone who's intelligent can configure it to search for certain things and then monitor it with, Ethereal or whatever they want to monitor it with, and they'll know if you're evil.
Now I put on my ass hat.
All right.
Let's say I want to get revenge on someone, and I'm a really bad person.
Mm-hmm.
I go to their computer, and they probably use Firefox, because if I'm a bad person, I'm probably dumb, and as a result, I probably hate someone who's smart, who uses Firefox.
Mm-hmm.
So I install this plugin somehow, and I tell it to search for all this sorts of kiddie porn stuff.
You are the awesome. The winner is you, as you have found why Scott has not installed this extension.
Ah, yes.
Also because I am not so paranoid, and I don't care if people see my search queries.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something.
Because you know what? I know porn sites. I don't need to search for them.
If someone wanted to know your porn searchings, I guess they could look in our DNS, but we don't even have a caching DNS, so no, we can't.
Nope. I tried to turn the caching on. I didn't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah, I never bothered because it doesn't matter for us.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah.
It would be faster, though. Maybe we should do it.
Yeah, maybe I'll look into it.
Yeah. It's all you.
All right.
Okay.
Anyway, my news is something that isn't...
Wasn't your news the dark matter?
No, I was just throwing that out.
Oh, okay.
I have an actual news I want to
talk about. You
threw
the dark matter out? Oh, no!
Ah!
Iran's going to nuke Israel tomorrow.
Yeah, supposedly Iran's going to nuke Israel.
Oh, no. Hide under your desk.
I hate to say it, but if it happened, that means that the internet scooped Iran.
Well, some guy in the Wall Street Journal writing an op-ed that was kind of crazy.
Oh, an op-ed.
Yeah.
See, I can tell that this is barely news because it didn't even hit FARC.
Yep.
I mean, if something doesn't hit FARC, it effectively didn't happen.
Yep.
All right, so this Irish company called Steorn, Steorn. I'm linking to their website.
I think it's like Storm, but Steorn.
That was the most useless simile ever.
Steorn.
It's like Oticon, but it's pronounced
Penis.
boo.
Whatever.
Anyway.
Talk about the crazy company.
Yeah, I said Oticon because I have the Oticon book in front of me, and then I looked around for another word to say. And
yeah, anyone out there, I've heard a lot of people say like Otekan and Oticon. You all need to STFU because it's Otakon.
Otakon.
Yep. Not
anyway,
Otakan.
This company, I'm linking to their website, but bear in mind that I'm only doing so in the most ironic sense. I am linking to it solely so that you can make fun of this company.
Mm-hmm.
This is a real company. At least it might be. It has recently come to my attention that a number of people believe that this company is actually a viral marketing campaign for Halo 3.
Oh, could be.
And that is the most credible theory I've heard so far, because otherwise it means that this group of people who have put together this snazzy-looking website and these nice animations and all this stuff.
It is a pretty snazzy website. Usually the scam idiot websites are much less.
They tend to have many fonts and blinking red letters.
They look like MySpace pages.
The long story short is this company claims to have a perpetual motion machine and that they want to sell it to people.
Can't happen. Perpetual motion defies every law of nature.
Yeah, something like that. Now, they even claim that our invention flies in the face of conventional understandings of physics. Yep, it does.
It sure does, which means it's not real. It's made up. You know what? I invented a dragon. I grew it in my bathtub.
Really? Can I ride it?
No.
Oh.
You can just invest in my company, and then maybe one day I'll let you ride it.
So I'll get to ride the dragon.
No, it's dead already. But
what?
I can make another one if you invest enough money in my company.
We'll have to talk after the show.
All right.
I like how we're making jokes today that are almost exactly like the jokes in the South Park we just watched.
Are they really?
The thing with Butters.
Oh, yeah.
We just did that joke, only with dragons. And
we did just do that joke.
Good God. Anyway, I don't have more to say about that other than that itself is not news. Companies appear all the time with bullshit pseudoscience trying to sell it. The scary part is that there were people on the internet who were posting about this company as though this is some amazing breakthrough and they're really excited about it.
Yep.
And I don't think they were kidding.
So if it's true that it's a Halo 3 thing, then some of those people were there supporting it for sure. But there were definitely people, I saw the Dig comments. There were people who believed it or didn't outright toss it out.
God, I got a gripe with Dig and these stupid people who tend to use it.
Yeah, so if you think there can be a perpetual motion machine, if you think that is possible, if you believe anyone who tells you that they have a perpetual motion machine might not be lying, you are a doofus.
Yo. Things of the day.
Dun-dun-dun.
You didn't say thingy.
I didn't say anything.
Also, that was our third take because...
Well, because the second time I wanted to just say that I didn't have anything funny to say, but you didn't like that.
No, I didn't.
So fuck you.
Mainly because I thought you were saying that non-ironically.
No, I was saying it ironically.
Oh. Anyway, my thing of the day is something I've been kind of wanting to talk about for a bit. And it's scary, but it's science-related. There was a study done recently, and they asked a whole bunch of questions of people in generally industrialized nations, and the main question they asked was essentially, did humans evolve from other species over time, something like that. It was basically a question to determine if you believe that evolution happened or not.
Mm-hmm.
And of all of these industrialized and semi-industrialized nations, and they did like 30 countries, the United States was beaten only by Turkey in terms of not believing in evolution.
So anyone who agrees with certain people that Americans aren't stupid, you're wrong. Americans are stupid.
I mean, it's not even like it was close. America is at the bottom by far, and pretty much every civilized country in the world has a very high response rate to this question, except the United States.
And if you look at the top of the list, you see the countries with the science and the making fancy things that have the better electronics. And at the bottom, you see the countries with the hicks and the religion.
Well, let's see. The winners here are Iceland, Denmark, Sweden, France, Japan, Britain, Norway, Belgium, Spain, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Hungary, Luxembourg. I could go on.
So all the countries that enjoy F1 racing.
Pretty much.
I see a correlation. High-tech cars, high-tech brains.
The U.S. was edged out by Cyprus just a little bit. And unfortunately, Turkey is really, really, really way back there beyond the U.S. But the U.S. is pretty far beyond everyone else.
Yeah, it's sad. I really would have liked if they would have added one or two, like, developing countries and third world countries. Sorry, politically correct UN.
I would like to see China be asked, too.
Yeah, they got to ask China. Did they ask Russia?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, you got to ask China and Russia, and maybe the Ukraine, and you got to India. They ask India?
Well, they asked, like, all, like, Lithuania and all that.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. But also, I'd like to see, like, Afghanistan on there.
Well, I'd like to see a more thorough study.
Yeah, definitely more, and some African countries.
Also, I think they could have asked a bunch more questions because they were basically saying, did evolution happen or not? And the really smart answer is probably.
Yep.
Not yes. But I guess anyone who would say no is pretty much definitely not on the right page.
Yeah. Also, they should have checked to see what people thought the theory of evolution was. Because a lot of people just don't understand the theory of evolution. And they only disbelieve
You calling me a monkey?
Yeah, exactly. They don't believe in it because they don't know what it is. I mean, if I thought that...
Granted, there was another study.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to link to this one. But one of the questions that they asked were, Do you believe that humans share at least 50% of their DNA with chimpanzees? Most Americans said no, even though the correct answer is like 90%.
Like 99%.
Yeah, like we're almost identical to chimpanzees.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, once again, industrialized nations other than the U.S., this really isn't a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And all I want to say is that this really kind of frightens me.
Anyone who says Americans aren't stupid, you're wrong.
Well, no. Theoretically, they're not. This does not prove that they're stupid. It proves that they are ignorant.
Ignorant and stupid is the same thing.
No, they're not. Ignorant means you lack knowledge. Stupid means you lack the ability to deal with knowledge. There's a big difference.
Whatever you want to define it as. I say stupid is stupid is stupid. If you're not smart, you're stupid. There you go.
That was brilliant.
Yep.
That was prose, Scott. I'm very proud of you.
You know what it was? It's stupid.
All right, what do you got?
So, I do this thing called QNU where I help people with problems with their computer. They just IM me kind of randomly, and I help them because I'm not doing anything at work.
How altruistic of you.
Yeah. And one question that I've had to deal with 2 or 3 times in my life, not just on QNU, is how do I defrag my hard drive in Linux? And the answer is you don't have to. And people go, WTF? I need to defrag my hard drive. And I'm like, no, you don't. And sometimes they just don't understand. And the answer is Linux file systems don't need to be defragmented.
Pretty much.
Ever. Because they are not stupidly designed. You see, in Windows, all right, let me try to talk about this in non-technical terms.
Yeah, because if you talk too long, it'll turn into a news.
Yeah, I want to do it I'm doing this on Tech Day because we don't give high-tech enough stuff for, and some people like it. So here you go. You have a hard drive. All that's on the hard drive is zeros and ones, and they stay there as long as you keep them there. It's a big magnetic disk that spins fast. If you want to put files on a hard drive, you need to have some system of arranging the zeros and ones.
Oh, some kind of filing system. Maybe a file system, a system for having files.
Yes, that is exactly what you need, a file system. A way to arrange the zeros and ones on the hard drive so that the computer knows where the files are and where to find the files and which zeros and ones equal which file.
Well, I think one place where a lot of the confusion around file systems comes from is that Windows doesn't differentiate between formatting the drive and making the file system.
Yep.
So most people, when they hear format, they think it means something very different from what format means to the rest of the world.
Exactly. But a file system is a way of arranging zeros and ones on a hard drive, usually a hard drive, but any other storage, like a flash card or anything, so that the computer knows where the files are. Now, Windows traditionally uses FAT, which is not the greatest one, and Windows 2000 and XP and the newer Windows use NTFS, which is super fat, basically. Super duper fat.
It's actually quite a bit different from
It is
FAT.
quite a bit different, but it still needs defragmentation.
It has the same problems for different reasons.
Exactly.
That's the best way to put it.
Yes. Linux can use pretty much any file system in the universe.
Except NTFS.
Well, no, now it can use NTFS. They found a way.
Really? Writing?
Yep.
Is it safe?
Yep.
Huh.
It uses a Windows driver.
Oh, great.
Yeah, but it's hard to get it to work, but it works.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
I saw
it's
not. I wouldn't personally go through the effort, but if you need to do it, it's there. But
the last time I tried to write to NTFS in Linux, it involved you can only write the same number of bytes over and all that.
Now you can do it full on. But
all right.
In Linux, the standard file system is ext2. There's also ext3, which is what everyone uses these days. There's also RiserFS, Riser4, XFS, JFS. There's lots of different file systems to choose from, and they all have advantages and disadvantages. But none of the ones that are awesome for Linux, I mean, you could use FAT in Linux, and then you need to defrag it, but all the Linux ones do not need to be defragmented. Now, if you're not sure what defragmenting means, and you want to know why Linux file systems don't need to be defragmented, my thing of the day explains it in a way where any idiot can understand. Well, not any idiot.
I was about to say, any idiot? I got some idiots.
No. Any literate and moderately intelligent human being can understand.
So an IQ above 90.
Yeah. you'll be able to understand files, the general gist of
You put the files on the disk. Get in.
get in.
Get in.
Get
Get in.
Yep. So I think that if you want to understand a little bit more about how your computer works, what defragmenting means, and why Windows sucks, you should read this page.
Now, for those of you who listen regularly, last Monday, in fact, we played the panel that we recorded, somewhat drugged, somewhat tired, myself mostly hungover, at Otakon. It was our second live recorded panel at a convention. And today we decided, since we did have a lot of difficulty pulling this all off, that we would talk a bit about the trials and tribulations of trying to do podcasts live on the road.
Yeah, you know what? I think this is actually going to be good because I don't think anyone else has done a podcast about doing this.
Yeah. Now, I mean, it's something we've done, and it's actually really easy to do. The problem is, it's easy to do as long as nothing goes wrong.
Something will always go wrong. If you ever do anything live in your entire life, something will go wrong.
The fact is, if you don't prepare for everything to go wrong, you're completely dick before you even started.
Exactly. And as we said in our panel many, many times, money makes everything better.
Yes, hire sound engineers and a full crew, and they'll set you up a rig everywhere you go.
And you want to deal with anything. This is why concerts don't screw up, because they have money.
All right, I guess we could talk about Toricon first, because that was a much easier one. And then Otakon was when we jumped to using other people's equipment.
Yep.
Now, for Toricon, we basically just brought Scott's laptop, the mixer, the compressor, and 3 microphones. We plugged them all in, we hit record on Audacity, we turned around, and we did the panel.
Gee, that was hard.
Well, it was basically the same as doing our normal podcast. The only difference was that we were in a different place.
We were using a different computer with a shittier sound card.
And there were other people watching.
Gasp.
Now, the reason this wasn't difficult is that, 1, it was a small room, and 2, more importantly, we weren't doing anything else with the audio. We didn't have monitors, we weren't wearing headphones, we didn't have amplified speakers projecting our voices out to the crowd. The only equipment we needed was recording equipment. So if you ever do a small panel and you're a podcaster, just bring your entire podcasting rig, set it up in the room, and go. That's all you need to do.
And of course, if you can't bring your entire podcasting rig because it's big or you don't have a laptop or anything like that, you can buy small equipment because all you need microphones, you need mixing, and you need recording. So buy the smallest things you can buy that do all that. 2, you can borrow...
Did you say A?
Oh.
And now you're saying 2.
Perfect.
Great.
B, you can borrow someone else's shit. So, like, if you're going to a college, you can call someone there and say, we need you to bring a laptop to our panel. And hopefully they won't, drop out on you, as people are wont to do.
Now, of course, that isn't the difficult part, other than, the actual logistics of running the panel and public speaking and everything that we really don't want to get into today, because today is Tech Day.
Mm-hmm.
But rest assured, we're going to do a show sometime soon on the public speaking and presentation aspects of all this.
Yep. Maybe
Now,
we'll do an episode called, how to run a panel that doesn't suck.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Now, remember in the forums, write that down. We'll forget.
Yes.
But anyway, the panel that we did at Otakon was very different. 1, it was a very large room. 2,
Very large.
Yes, I mean large. Larger than we wanted at all.
Exactly.
2, there was already equipment in the room. Otakon had already set up this whole AV setup where there were microphones everywhere. They were all put into this crazy equipment. Everything was amplified, so we talk into the microphones, and the speakers then projected out into the room. And as a result, we had to somehow integrate our equipment with their equipment. Now, if you don't have a mixer, or you're a solo podcaster, or you don't have any audio skill whatsoever, there's really almost no way you're going to be able to deal with this unless the AV people are very nice to you and they have a bunch of cables and they'll help you out.
Yeah. Not likely. I mean, our guy did the minimal effort for us, and that's because we knew what to ask for, and we were asking for very little.
Yep, I mean, we basically asked, can we record the panel? And the guy seemed to think that we wanted him to do it all. And then we were like, no, we have a mixer. We just need one mono feed from your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, oh, okay. And he plugged into our mixer.
Yep, he gave us, all he needed is a wire that came from his stuff to our stuff. One wire.
Of course, the equipment didn't work. So behind us talking was a kind of noise.
Yeah, but that was somewhat removed.
Well, luckily, that didn't affect the actual panel. I mean, remember, there are two concerns you have when you're doing this sort of panel. Firstly, you have to worry about the panel itself. This should be your primary concern. If you're going to screw anything up, you're much better off screwing up the recording part than the presentation part.
Absolutely. If it's time for your panel to start. If it's time for your panel to end. You should be there early to deal with all your audio shit. If you don't get your recording set up and working before the panel starts, forget it. Just give up on it.
Because the recording isn't worth it. Not doing the recording doesn't lose you anything. It's just a small opportunity cost.
Mm-hmm.
Wasting the first half hour of your panel trying to fix that hum that won't even matter until you're trying to do post-production later is definitely not worth your time.
No, you just destroyed half your panel. Now no one's going to be at it. Good job.
And also, when we say get there early, we mean get there early. We got to our panel an hour before it started.
Yeah, we didn't have to get there that early. We probably could have gotten there a half hour before it started.
Yeah, but we were
more is safer. I mean, there is a point at which getting there earlier is stupid. Like 2 hours early, you'd be dumb.
Well, it depends on what you're doing. I mean, if you're setting up all of the audio for the room, then yeah, get there 2 hours early.
Oh, you probably need like 3 or 4 hours, depending on the room and the equipment. Good thing those guys had semi-good equipment already set up, except for the mixer with the Wii U.
Yeah, but that wasn't that guy's fault.
No, it wasn't. That was the bad equipment. One piece of the equipment was broken. Everything else was awesome. You had all these compressors lined up and everything.
Yep. In fact, I used our compressor as a limiter instead of a compressor because I was worried that the super loudness coming out of his equipment could hurt the Mac. So I made the compressor be a limiter, so if anything got really loud, it would cut off the signal and save the Mac.
Yep, and it worked.
Worked very well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you have extra equipment, you should bring it. If you don't have extra equipment, you should buy it. You should probably have one of every possible connector, and then one of every possible connector again, and then a whole bunch of cables that can connect between all of them.
Yeah, because I mean, you're never going to know what they're going to give you or what you're going to have available at the time or what you'll need.
Or what if suddenly you want to play some music at a panel, you just patch right in.
Yeah, it's like you never know what you're going to need, so bring everything you got. You know, a lot of people, they bring, trying to save space, exactly what they think they'll need, nothing more, nothing less, and inevitably, one wire they need. It's better to have 5 or to 10 wires sitting in your box unused than to not have the one wire you desperately need.
Yes, I mean, we brought everything we had. We brought the Mac. We brought Scott's laptop just in case. We brought all of the podcasting equipment, every spare cable we have, including a bunch of AV cables that we probably would not even need.
Yep, we brought it all.
It was way too much, and we didn't even use a quarter of it, but having it saved us from all sorts of trouble.
And if you really, really, really can't deal with bringing a lot of physical goods with you wherever you're going, your only option is really to buy smaller stuff.
Or to plan ahead. The problem is that the planning ahead, one, probably won't work because you can't plan for unexpected eventualities.
Yep.
And two, it probably won't work because you're going to forget something anyway.
Yeah, and a lot of what it comes down to is just you have to know your shit. That way, when you get there, no matter what the weird situation is, you have to know enough that you can comprehend the situation and come up with the solution rather quickly. I mean, if you just don't know, then you're going to waste a lot of time figuring it out, and that's not good. That's really not good. Because you need that time to implement the solution, not to figure it out.
Yes. Now, in terms of podcasting on the road, we bought a Mac Mini pretty much expressly for this purpose.
Well, we originally bought it to replace your computer, but it failed miserably at that.
Yeah, something like that. But now it serves as our media box and as our podcast box.
Yep.
Now, the key is you've got to have some sort of portable rig. You really don't want to be bringing your own computer on the road.
Unless you're like one of those wicked cool shuttle case LAN PC people.
Yeah, or if you have a really good laptop.
Really good laptops.
Though, laptops without external sound cards tend to sound pretty bad and tend to be really noisy.
Well, I think the Mac laptops, at least they supposedly have good sound cards, but like my IBM ThinkPad has like the worst sound card imaginable.
Yeah, good God.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of having the computer, I mean, the Mac Mini's great. If you can get a laptop, it's good. If you're fancy, your best bet is to buy a solid-state recorder, but a good solid-state recorder will go for at least $200 to $300.
Oh, it could even go for more than that, but a lot of the professional guys have a solid state recorder that they use for everything as the ultimate backup. You have to get one of those ones that has like the XLR inputs and the compact flash card, and these things are really awesome. So they are worth the money they charge. You just can't get one if you're poor.
And the other big concern in regards to bringing equipment is the display. Now, we were going to buy a cheap LCD monitor, and we didn't get around to it for various reasons. So we ended up bringing one of Scott's really nice LCD monitors. If you don't have a laptop, don't just assume that wherever you're going is going to have something you can plug your computer into, because they probably won't.
Yeah, I mean, the room we were in did have a projector, and there was a VGA cable that we could plug into to use that projector as a monitor. The thing is the Mac Mini only had DVI out, and we didn't bring the DVI to VGA adapter. But that's okay, because we brought a DVI monitor.
Well, there was also the RCA we could have used.
There was the RCA we could have used, yes.
But the thing is, even if you think, oh, I know they're going to have a projector, I'll just use that. I don't think I have ever been to a presentation where the projector didn't somehow screw up while they were trying to set it up with a computer.
See, a lot of the thing is I mark all of the 90% of those. I mark down to people not knowing how to use audiovisual equipment.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You need to know how to use audiovisual equipment. You need to know how to wire it. You need to know how to, change settings on it. You need to know how to change inputs. You need to know how to do all those things, and you need to be able to figure out how to do it on completely foreign equipment that you've never used before.
Thus, in the very least, once again, get to your panel early, plug your equipment in, look at it, make sure it's working. Now, right along those lines, if you think you're going to use the projector, bear in mind that now, while you're talking, you're going to have this Audacity window open in the background, distracting everyone.
Yeah, you probably want to, turn the projector. If you're using the projector, you probably want to turn it on, hit record, then turn the projector off. And then when you're done, turn the projector back on and click stop.
Of course, then now you can't monitor if anything goes wrong.
Yeah, it's sort of.
I mean, imagine doing a
4-hour
roundtable panel discussion, ending it, round of applause, you turn the projector on to save it, and there was a fatal exception or a beach ball. Huh.
Good job.
Great. Good game, grenade.
Yeah, having a monitor or using a laptop is definitely a good idea. I mean, I was really worried about bringing the monitor. And it was sort of a pain in the ass to bring the monitor, but in the end, it was worth it because
plus,
it
pain
worked.
in the ass, my ass. I had everything else.
Yeah, it's fun.
Now, the other thing that really saved us, and I'm glad we did it, and we're going to do this at every panel we ever do, ever, is having an assistant. If there are two people in your podcast, and you're trying to do a presentation, neither of you should be touching anything or doing anything other than talking. You should have a third person who's sitting back there fiddling with the computer the whole time. When you're taking questions, you should have a third person going around with the microphone.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if I was doing this podcast right now and I had to spend all my, half my time, my attention is focused on this screen to see if things are fucking up. And the other half the time, I'm focused on what I'm saying. That's not going to be too good because I'm not paying attention to what I'm saying, and I'm only giving the audience half of what I should be giving them.
Now, granted, I'm doing that right now, and every night on Geeknights, I'm watching all sorts of things while we talk. But
there's 1 meter over there. What are you talking?
There's 2 more meters. I just can't see them now because I can't put my microphone where I want to until I get a better microphone.
Those meters don't change so much.
Yeah, but I got to keep an eye on the inputs.
Yeah,
it was much more important early on before we learned how to use microphones.
Yeah.
But that sort of thing takes a lot of practice, and even then, it is distracting. And whenever I get on a roll, I stop watching usually.
Yeah, but having an assistant is awesome, especially you just tell them what to look for, and then if there's a problem, they can signal you, and it's even better if they can deal with the problem on their own, and you don't need to do anything.
Yep, which our assistant could, because it was in fact Nuri from the Artist Alley podcast.
Ooh.
So she knew exactly what she was doing.
Awesome.
Now, a whole bunch of other random things that you may or may not be aware of. That, for example, say you're doing a panel, you're talking, or you're on a stage, you're talking, you've got a microphone, and there's speakers going out to the audience. You know, the big concert speakers.
The big black boxes that make noise.
Don't ever walk in front of one of those if you are carrying a microphone.
Unless the microphone is switched to off.
And even then, don't walk in front of it because it's like a loaded weapon. It might be on.
Yep, if you're about to walk in front of them, just stop. Look at your microphone, double check like 100 times to make sure it's off, run across really fast, and then turn the microphone on.
Or better, chart out what you're going to do so that you never have to walk in front of those things.
That's also a good idea. If you can, just walk around the back, with your microphone. Get a cordless one. That way you don't need to worry about wires getting tangled when you do that.
Yep. In fact, at our panel, we were careful about that. And then when we brought up all the other podcasters so they could give little plugs about themselves, we warned them, don't walk in front of the microphone or in front of the speaker.
Well, you can hear all this in last Monday's episode, but yeah.
Yeah, there's a point at which someone walks in front of those speakers.
And it for only like a half a second, we were like, God damn, you ruined the perfectness.
Now, another thing you might not realize is that if anyone's ever been in theater or in a band in high school or anything where you're on a stage, where you're lighted, where you're mic'd, where there are monitor speakers, anything beyond just sitting at a panel room in front of a bunch of people, you might not be aware that you're not going to be able to hear the audience very well in many cases, unless the acoustics in the room are good or the monitors are set up right. And you're probably going to have to deal with hearing your own voice coming out of the speakers at a possibly substantial delay.
Yeah, I mean, the room we were in was really big, and we had a bunch of people there, but not enough to fill the room. So there was this echo of the speakers bouncing off the far wall back to us, and it was rather annoying. And people talking to us, they weren't physically close enough for us to hear them because they weren't as loud as I am. So when they talked, it came out of the speakers that were facing away from us, bounced off the rear of the room, and then came back to us. So we couldn't tell what the hell they were asking.
Now, the ways to mitigate this are, 1, to have your assistant repeat questions to you, which worked wonderfully.
Mm-hmm.
2, to be very good at reading lips and guessing what people are asking, which at a panel that's kind of rudimentary. I mean, we were talking about podcasting on a very basic level. It was usually pretty easy to guess what people are saying if you picked up 1 or 2 of the words they said.
Yep.
Of course, there's one point I misjudged what someone was asking and answered a different question.
That's fine. More information's always better.
But it's not just audio. If you're on a stage, like a real stage, you got to realize that those lights are going to be extremely hot and they're going to blind you.
Mm-hmm.
You won't be able to see anything and your eyes will hurt.
Yeah, if you're a professional, you keep your eyes low and you furrow your brow and, all kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, your best bet is either to read up on, theater and stage and these sort of things and learn how to deal with all this stuff, like the way the professionals do, or just do this a lot and honestly, you'll get used to it real quick.
Yeah.
As long as you try and you realize that these are problems everyone faces and you just have to overcome them. And I guess one other thing, since we're kind of cobbling this episode together somewhat half-assedly.
Cobble.
If you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Is that microphone discipline is very important in a podcast, but it's even more important live in many ways. Because at least when you're podcasting normally, I hope that you've either got some sort of lavalier or else you've got the microphone either on a stand or you hold it the same way every time. You've got the pop filter, whatever you're using, but it's very easy in your studio or at your desk to use the microphone consistently. If you're not using the microphone consistently when you're recording normally, you probably shouldn't be on the road trying to record anything just yet because you're not quite there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, when you're doing a show live, and I hate to make fun of Scott for this, but I crack up every time I see the pictures from TorCon, you've got to be very aware of the microphone because if you're not used to using a microphone in front of a crowd, it's very easy to move the microphone around a lot, which isn't always a big deal because a lot of times they'll use Omni mics for this purpose. But more importantly, in terms of how you look, you might hold the microphone right in front of your face, like Scott did. So all the pictures of the panel show Scott standing there holding his hand directly in front of his face with the microphone kind of blocking everything.
I'm hip-hopping.
Yeah, you're hip-hopping.
Non-stop rocking.
Bit the head off a dove in the tunnel of love.
All right.
Yeah, so if you're going to do a live thing and you've never done this sort of thing before, just do this alone and don't feel embarrassed, but go into your bathroom, hold the microphone, and kind of pose with it, move it around, and try to find a way to hold it that looks like all those people on TV look.
Yeah, and also, you can't take it too far away from your face because then it won't work. Your noise won't go in the noise hole.
Now, you can either, basically pick where you're going to hold the microphone. Then, before the panel, figure out all your levels based on that. And then hold the microphone that far away, come hell. Now, advanced techniques, which really only apply mostly to vocalists and singers, are that you can change the distance of the microphone depending on what you're doing in order to act as your own gain. You know, if you're yelling, you put the microphone further away. If you're trying to do some sort of sensuous voice, you pull it right up close and deep mic it. You move it around based on what you're doing. If none of that made sense, don't try it. Just hold the microphone consistently. It's like bowling. You can do all the fancy stuff in bowling, but for the intermediate and beginner skill level, the best thing you can do is to be consistent.
Yeah, throw the ball straight down the middle of the lane every time.
Yep, at least throw it the same way every time. Even if it goes into the gutter every time, as long as you're throwing it the exact same way, then you'll be able to make simple changes to what you're doing to hit. For example, if you always throw the bowling ball and it always hits the pin on the far left and nothing else, take one step to the right and throw it the exact same way, and now you're going to get a strike.
Maybe.
Or at least you'll do better.
Yep.
If you hold the microphone the exact same way, then the next time you record, you'll know kind of where to put the levels. I mean, in general, Scott seems to be done with this episode since you've resorted to gin mode. So. Granted, I do that fairly often on the show.
Yeah, you do.
The basic advice we have is very simply practice, prepare, or spend money.
Yeah, prepare is always number one, because even if you set your Bill Gates, without that prepare part, you're fucked.
Yeah, because you can hire all the assistants in the world, but they can't actually say what you want to say unless you hire them to do the entire podcast for you.
Yeah, I mean, like, imagine if Steve Jobs died and you had to do his keynote tomorrow. Even if you had all his mad monies and resources, you wouldn't pull it off without the preparing.
It depends on who you are and what you're good at.
It does, but
I mean, I guess
you have to know what the hell you're going to be introducing.
True, but a little bit of optimism for all of you out there, because I know a lot of people are new at podcasting. If you just do this constantly, it's amazing how good you'll get at it and how quickly you'll get better at it. Provided you try at least a little and you listen to what you're doing and try to make changes. I mean, if you record your first panel and the audio sounds like this.
Ow, don't do that.
Maybe you'll learn that, oh, I got to turn my gain down, or oh, I got to hold the mic further away. And actually, I'll say now that what you just heard probably didn't sound nearly as bad to you as it did to Scott and I, because we listened to the raw audio, but what you hear goes through the compressor and the limiter.
Yeah, that really hurt.
Yeah. Well, that's because you have those weird those weird headphones that you can't adjust so easily.
I can adjust them just fine. They were worth the $20 I paid.
Yeah. But just keep trying, practice, learn, prepare, get to things early, buy equipment.
Don't suck.
Yeah. Now, we just really talked about the technology. We kind of padded this episode out because there wasn't so much to say about it. I guarantee
I wanted to talk about BitTorrent, but no.
Yeah? Well, the problem was we already said we were going to do this show.
All right. Well, next week we'll talk about BitTorrent.
Yep. And then in the future, some Thursday, we're definitely going to talk about presentation skills in general. You know, how to speak, what to say, how to do it.
Yeah.
We'll probably do another completely separate episode on small, weak, solid-state recorders and how to do interviews on the road, which I realize now was probably a better show to do because I have a lot more to say about that.
Yeah, I just don't know. I think we don't know a lot about the different, specific devices and their features. We have to research that a bit.
Yeah, well, I know a lot about the techniques.
Yep.
I think we're good for today. Tune in tomorrow when we'll be talking about something very fun.
Uh-oh.
Do you want to ruin it? You want to tell him?
No, we'll let it be.
All right. All I have to say is that there might be some kobolds.
Uh-oh.
And there might be some babies.
Uh-oh.
And we might be having some dinner.
Uh-oh.
And that was Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcasts, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geeknights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geeknights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.